What is up, the Catch fam? My name is John Dawson, and today we're going to bring you our must add week 13 waiver wire additions. I was not planning on doing a live stream for today's video. I recorded this video twice, and both times along the way, something got messed up. So I figured, why not just hop on, hang out with you guys for a couple minutes, and get our week 13 waiver wire additions done live for you guys. So hope everyone is doing fantastic today. Happy to be here with you guys. It is going to be a much shorter stream than usual, but I figured this is just the easiest way to go ahead and get our waiver wire additions for week 13 out for you guys. So go ahead and hit that like button on the way in, man. Make sure if you watch this retrospectively to comment down below with who you are considering for week 13 as a waiver wire addition. We've got a lot to get into, guys. So I'm not going to be as active in the live chat, unfortunately, but I am very, very, very thankful for anyone coming out today. Let's see. Marky Mark was good, my dude. I'm going to hop right into our waiver wire must adds. And then, like I said, it's going to be a pretty quick stream overall, but I just wanted to make sure I got this up for you guys. And both times I try to record this, something went wrong. So here we are, guys. Hit the like button, hit the sub button if you're new to the channel, and let's get rolling, man. All right. Let's see. Okay. First on the list, we've got Alexander Mattison, who is at this point in most leagues not available, but he does come in at under a 50% ownership overall. We know that Dalvin Cook is dealing with the shoulder injury, right? We know that he's probably going to miss at least one game, if not more. So obviously, if Mattison is available in your league, he is your absolute must add. Put up a rushing touchdown versus San Francisco. Only had 7 carries, but yet he turned into 21 rushing yards and a touchdown. We know how nicely he can fill in for Dalvin Cook when we look at weeks 4, right? Week 5, and he gets Detroit in week 13. So if it's only one game, it's a good performance for Alexander Mattison. So he is without a doubt your must-add player here in week 13. All right, I'm going to talk about the Texans running backs. I've got them back-to-back here. I like Hilliard a little bit more. The interesting thing here is that they both have a bye week in week 13, but they face Jacksonville, who's better than you'd think, statistically speaking, against overall ball carriers, but still, it's a good matchup, guys. Okay. I'm leaning Hilliard. He rushed 12 times for 131 rushing yards and a touchdown. He broke out for that big play, which he turned into a score. I just liked him better when I watched this game. I mean, the 68-yard touchdown looked very electric. They both had a fumble, right? But they still both rushed for over 200 yards, and they did it against a very good New England defense at that. So if you're in a bad enough position, if you need a running back, I think they're both worth adding, but just keep in mind you're not going to have them in week 13. Then they get Pittsburgh and San Fran in weeks 15 and 16. Then Miami, and Miami sounds like a great matchup, but Miami's been in the top 15 against opposing running backs as well. So this schedule for the rest of the season isn't fantastic, but it's worth adding because we know that the Titans love to run the football. Like I said, I'm leaning Hilliard, but if you end up with Foreman, it might not be the end of the world. It's just still kind of hard to call because this is definitely a backfield by committee overall for the Tennessee Titans. All right, let's move on to Chuba Hubbard. Once again, another handcuff. I feel like this is the week of the handcuff. This is, I mean, we've had other weeks similar, but this feels more exaggerated than the rest. Okay. CMC looks very, very vulnerable to injury at this point in the season. I hate to say it as a CMC owner. Once again, if you pick up Chuba Hubbard, you're not going to have him in week 13. This gives CMC more time to rest up. We saw him in a walking boot. We saw him a little banged up on Sunday's game versus Miami. So that might hurt Chuba's overall outlook, but they get Atlanta in week 14. So let's say CMC does miss time. Well, yeah, even if he doesn't, right, he's worth adding as a handcuff situation because CMC's just looks so incredibly vulnerable to injuries this season. Now, don't get me wrong, I love this matchup in week 14 versus Atlanta. Then he gets Buffalo, then Tampa Bay, then New Orleans. It's a very, very bad playoff schedule if we do end up being able to use Chuba as a starter. But if you're in a deeper league, if you're in a desperate enough position, it might be the right move for you. All right, Jamal Williams, another running back by handcuff luck, right? If you picked him up before week 12, then you look very smart. But nonetheless, DeAndre Swift is not expected to miss a ton of time, right? But he will miss some time, okay? I'm expecting it to be at least one game, if not two. Minnesota, who the Lions face in week 13, have been very vulnerable against opposing running backs. They've been very vulnerable in general on defense. So I like Jamal Williams in week 13. We know that the Lions have to run the football. They essentially have no passing attack whatsoever. So Williams is worth the play in week 13 if you need someone at the running back position. Let's say you own CMC, for example, and he's on bye week, right? There are needs to go ahead and pick up Williams, but just understand that this is not a long-term play. He gets Denver in week 14, Arizona in week 15. Good matchups in week 16 and 17 against Atlanta and Seattle, but by that time, Swift is going to be back regardless. So if you need a week play, Jamal Williams is someone you can plug in here in week 13. All right, Boston Scott is going to be facing off against the New York Jets in week 13. I get it, man. Miles Sanders is going to be involved, although he had an apparent ankle injury. I think he's still going to play. Jordan Howard still expected to miss some time, and I know that Kenneth Gainwell will be sprinkled in as well. But nonetheless, Boston Scott and Miles Sanders should get heavily involved within this game. Don't get me wrong, Jalen Hurts will probably steal some rushing advantage there as well. But the Jets are the worst team in the league against the position. And I think if you're in a desperate enough situation, you can go ahead and pick up Boston Scott. Playing versus the Jets, just understand you might not really get a whole lot of value outside of that. Nonetheless, I mean, he has 64 rushing yards and a touchdown off 15 carries. But let's face it, we just can't trust this Eagles backfield. His week 7 through week 12 stats are a perfect example why. 9 points, 18 points, 4 points, 11 points, 2 points, 12 points, just extremely up and down. But I do like him here in week 13 versus the Jets. Let's be real. All right. Matt Breida, the last running back I've got for today's video. Listen, I like what we've seen out of Breida quite a bit. Okay. A phenomenal day versus the Jets, which doesn't really surprise me because, like we just talked about, they're the worst team in the league. And I get it, man. Devin Singletary is here. Zach Moss is here at times. But nonetheless, Matt Breida looks like he could be a guy for the Bills. Who knows? The Bills' backfield is just as frustrating as the Eagles, right? But back to my point, he played well versus Indianapolis, 51 rushing yards, 16 receiving yards. No scores, but if he had found the end zone, would have been a great day. Against New Orleans, he played quite well also. 26 rushing yards, 29 receiving yards, and most importantly, a receiving score. So Indianapolis, New Orleans, very good against position. He gets New England, Tampa Bay, Carolina, New England, and a phenomenal matchup in week 17 versus Atlanta in the fantasy championship. But nonetheless, I mean, weeks 13 through 16 are tough. Very tough, guys. So just look out for that. I know, like I said, he played well against Indianapolis and New Orleans, but just keep in mind, man, it's a tough outlook. I mean, New England, Tampa Bay, Carolina, New England is not pretty. So just keep it in mind. If you're in a bad enough position, if you're in a deep enough league, I do think that Matt Breida is worth the ad, but just do it with hesitation. All right, let's move on to some receivers. We talked about Kendrick Bourne quite a bit on the channel over the past 2 weeks or so. I really have liked Bourne ever since that week 10 performance versus Cleveland. He let us down big time in week 11 versus Atlanta, but he came back with a boom here in week 12, 61 receiving yards, 2 scores versus Tennessee. I mean, don't get me wrong, the worst team in the league against the position, but still he played very, very well. It's a much, much tougher matchup versus Buffalo in week 13. Then he gets a bye week, a good enough matchup versus Indianapolis, then Buffalo again, then a good enough matchup in the fantasy playoffs versus Jacksonville. So I think Bourne is worth a look, especially in full PPR and deeper leagues. I own him in my personal league, but I am not a good comparison because I'm absolutely decimated at the receiver position. Nonetheless, take a look at Kendrick Bourne. I like his outlook, but just keep in mind that Aguilar as well as Jacoby Myers are going to be eating into some of that overall target volume, including Hunter Henry as well. So take it with a grain of salt, but he looked very, very good this past week. Okay, Russell Gage of the Atlanta Falcons ended up with 7 targets, 6 receptions, 62 receiving yards, and a touchdown. Another player who we've really liked essentially ever since Calvin Ridley left this offense. And essentially, since Calvin Ridley left, he's been completely up and down. Okay. So week 7 versus Miami had a very positive fantasy outlook, 14 points. In week 8, 0 points. then he's just been so back and forth, right? Week 9, just under 10 points. These are half PPR stats, by the way. 0 points against Dallas in week 10. He actually played better versus New England than I thought he would with 49 receiving yards. And then last week versus Jacksonville, a solid 62 receiving yards and a touchdown like we just went over. So he can be very up and down, but he does look like he is the Falcons' #1 receiver if you take Kyle Pitts out of the mix, or even Cordell Pounder and Cheese for that matter. But nonetheless, he gets Tampa Bay in week 13. It's a good matchup. Tougher matchup versus Carolina, although their pass defense does not look good as of late. Tougher matchup versus San Francisco, then good matchup versus Detroit, then a bad matchup versus Buffalo. So, the outlook is very mixed because he's been inconsistent at times on the season, and this schedule, or at least the strength of schedule he has, is very inconsistent as well. But nonetheless, take a look at Russell Gage. If you're in a deep league, full PPR, if you're in a bad position, you can roll with Russell Gage if you need to. All right, Van Jefferson had 9 freaking targets against the Packers and only caught 3 targets. Nonetheless, turned into 93 receiving yards and a touchdown. If he could have just converted some more of those targets, he would have had a monster day, man. He gets Jacksonville in week 13. So I think if you're in a bad position at the receiver position, Van Jefferson is someone that we can start to consider. It's kind of interesting because I thought he would just continue to play the Van Jefferson role and Odell Beckham would take over the Robert Woods role. But really, Matthew Stafford and Van Jefferson have that chemistry already established. And it looks like he is more of a wide receiver too than Odell Beckham is. Odell Beckham obviously still getting involved against the Packers, but I think Van Jefferson is the receiver to own out of the two. I mean, I might be wrong. He has some boomer bust written all over him, but at the same time, it's a situation to monitor, especially as the Rams have got to start to piece together some wins on a 3-game losing streak. They get Jacksonville. I think Van Jefferson could be heavily involved here in week 13. All right, Nick Westbrook, a player who we've liked at times throughout the season because the Tennessee Titans have had so many issues at the receiver position. We know that A.J. Brown is likely to miss another week or two. Once again, here in week 13, you got a bye week. So this isn't like an ad that you had to make right away. But if you're really hurting at the position, if you play in a deep enough league, he gets Jacksonville in week 14, and he should operate as the receiver 1 for the Tennessee Titans in week 14. So I like where Westbrook is at because it's a good matchup week 14. And even if A.J. Brown comes back weeks 15 through 17, Nick Westbrook should be a pretty good overall wide receiver 2 for the remainder of the season. So I think Westbrook is worth a add. He had a touchdown versus New England, one of the better teams in the league against opposing wide receivers. And in week 11, he played very, very well against a Houston defense that's very Houston-esque. But don't get me wrong, Houston played pretty well in week 11 overall. So I like Westbrook. I like where he's at, but he does have a bye week in week 13. So just kind of take it with a grain of salt and know that you can use him against the Jacksonville Jaguars in week 14. All right, last receiver on the list is Sterling Shepard, who has been kind of picked up and dropped and picked up in most leagues. Part of this Giants receiving core that's just been so incredibly banged up throughout the season. Nonetheless, they get the Miami Dolphins in week 13. He could see, if he does suit up, he could see some of the defensive pressure from some of the top tier names there, like Xavier Howard. But nonetheless, on the season, Miami has played very bad in the secondary. After that, he gets the Chargers, a tough matchup. Then Dallas, Philly, relatively tough matchups. But then Chicago in the fantasy playoffs, fantasy championship, I should say at that point. But just keep an eye on it. He was very, very productive when healthy at the beginning of the season against Denver, who's played very good against opposing wide receivers, and against Washington, who has played very poorly. So he's someone we can take a look at. He's probably been picked up and dropped 20 times at this point in the season in your personal league. So if you're in a bad enough position, a deep enough league, take a look at Sterling Shepard as he looks to get back on track with his health. All right, last player on the list is once again Cole Comet, who I feel like we've talked about multiple times on our waiver wire streams and videos throughout the week. He ended up with 11 targets, turned those into 8 receptions for 65 receiving yards. But he's another inconsistent player, right? Week 9, he played very well, had a bye week. Week 11, less than 2 points. Week 12, a good stat line. I do think that he is aided by the absence of Justin Fields at the quarterback position, and we don't know when Fields is going to come back. But nonetheless, when Andy Dalton is throwing the football, he likes to find Cole Komet. So I would say, although it's a tough matchup versus Arizona, tough matchup versus Green Bay, I don't expect Justin Fields to miss more than 1 to 2 more games. So just keep an eye on the situation. If Andy Dalton is out there, he might be worth streaming against even some of these good defenses like Arizona and Green Bay. But at this point in the season, at the tight end position, there's really no other tight ends, maybe other than Tyler Conklin, who can really pick up and line or plug into your lineups right away and have any confidence. So Cole Komet's kind of your last straw here at the tight end position right before we get into the fantasy playoffs. So that'll do it for today's video, man, or today's stream, I should say. This was supposed to be a video, but it just got turned into a stream. There's really no one else I can think of for us to go over. So if you guys have anyone, make sure you throw it into the live chat, or if you watch this retrospectively, make sure to drop a comment down below. I'll go ahead and jump into the chat for about 5 to 10 minutes, and I am unfortunately going to have to uh, hop off for the day, but I'll be back on tonight. Mark, my waiver wire has a lot available, but my highest priorities are Madison or Williams, then Bourne for now, especially since I've tailored going on by. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that you have those in the correct order there, Mark, for sure. Jerry, what's going on, man? Tyreek for Madison. It depends on your whole roster, but right off the bat, I would still say no. I would still say no. I mean, Madison's probably only going to be the RB1 for a week, maybe 2 weeks at best. And even if Cook comes back slightly unhealthy, then you're looking at a 50-50 split at best. So I wouldn't give up Tyreek Hill for Madison, no. Chosen Rose almost got Kendrick Bourne. Ugh, I picked up MVS instead. Yeah, and the thing with MVS is there's always going to be a receiver fighting for that wide receiver 2 spot on the Packers. And you take away that 75-yard touchdown he had, not this past week, but the week before, he really didn't have a good day at all. So I did kind of heavily warn against MVS, but hey, you took your shot, man. Don't beat yourself up for it. Mark, also looking at Chuba with Jonathan Taylor's week 14 bye. Just be careful with Chuba. It's a very, very bad fantasy outlook in terms of strength of schedule for the rest of the year, Mark. But it's not a bad option, right? And we just don't have a lot of clear timelines on some of these injuries. And for a guy like CMC, we probably won't until after the week 13 bye week. But you're doing the right thing by looking ahead, of course, Mark. Chosen Rose, I do have Russell Gage. There we go. I was thinking about Westbrook, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I like Westbrook, but you have to be in the right situation to go ahead and pull the trigger there, right? Would you start Madison over Zeke this week? I would consider it for sure. I would. Madison has the easier matchup overall. I mean, he gets the Lions. So, and don't get me wrong, the Lions played okay versus David Montgomery. Really, really surprised us on Thanksgiving Day. I almost said Halloween Day. But I would definitely consider this, okay? I would definitely consider just looking at the matchup overall. Zeke's going to have New Orleans. Zeke's a little banged up. I would definitely consider Madison there. Jerry, what's going on, man? What's up, brothers? Yeah, man, just hopped on. Going to be off in about a couple minutes here. Having a nice beach day today. I'm getting ready for it. Let's go, Jerry. Shout out to you. Enjoy the beach day, man. JD, is there news on Cook? Nothing I've seen. Let me see. I'll check that real quick. Like I said, unfortunately, this is a very short stream. It's supposed to be an upload video, and both times I recorded it, something went wrong. So we turned it into a stream, and I'm happy to be here, but I don't have a ton of time. But nonetheless, guys, let's see. Dalvin Cook injury update. Wow, this site is loading very slow. How long will Alexander Madison be in RB1? Yes, this is what we want to know. All right, we're getting off this site. Too many ads popping in my face. All right, here we go. Any updates? Oh, gosh. CMC, Dalvin Cook, and DeAndre Swift. I mean, you guys, it's just been hard this year. All right, let me see. I don't see any. I don't think he's had his MRI yet, or at least we don't have the results. I don't see any updates, unfortunately. But we'll be back on tonight, so hopefully we have a better outlook tonight. Let's see. If you make the stream tonight, I'll try and make it. Hey, no worries, Jerry. No worries. Oh, let's see. I'm a little behind. Ron, go. What's up, boys? At work right now, but hope everyone is having a good one. Appreciate that, Ron. Jerry, I'm glad I was able to catch some of it. Absolutely. Glad to have you here as always, Jerry. You streaming tonight during Monday Night Football, John? Yeah, I will be on tonight at some point for sure for our full Week 12 fantasy reaction, as well as some early Week 13 Q&A. Hope everyone has a good day today. Appreciate that, Jerry. If you have a stream tonight, I'll try and make it. Absolutely appreciate that, bro. Jerry, have a good day at the beach. Ron, have a good day at work. Matt, what's up, bro? Matt, we are just getting ready to hop off. I do sincerely apologize. Thank you guys for coming out to our Week 13 waiver wire must adds. If you guys missed the stream, make sure to go back and watch it retrospectively. Matt, I got a quick question. Yeah, I'll take Matt's question for sure. We'll take your question, and then we'll have to end the stream. Yeah, first time I recorded this was just awful. I messed up. Like, Matt, I can get your question here real quick, my dude. First time I recorded this video, it just went awful. I just messed up like 40 times, and trying to edit it would have been a pain. So I went in and I tried to record a second time, and something was wrong with my audio. Like my mic was like tapping something consistently and making like an echoing noise. And at that point, I was like, I'm not doing this a third time. We're just hopping on live. Hey, it is what it is, man. And I'm happy I got to catch some of you guys here a little bit earlier in the day. But yeah, Matt, if you got a question, okay, let's see. If you had to choose one flex moving forward, who would you choose? DK, Mike Evans, or Fournette? Ooh, it's tough, man. It's really tough. I think DK is going to have a really good night tonight. And, you take away the past 2 or 3 weeks, he was a top 5 fantasy receiver. So I'm not giving up on DK completely. And I love Mike Evans. He's always going to offer an insane ceiling. But at this point in the season, can we really take Fournette out of here? After that monster performance versus the Colts of all teams. I tend to lean towards the running back position, Matt. So I think personally I lean Fournette, but you can certainly make an argument for DK or Mike Evans here. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. They're all great flex options, Matt. I think I kind of list them Fournette, Mike Evans, and then DK. But we might change our minds about that if DK puts on a good enough show versus the Washington football team secondary tonight. So I will say I like Seattle's offense a whole lot less than I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense for obvious reasons. So I don't know, man. I think we got to put Fournette first. I mean, coming off all that momentum. I mean, I'm not expecting him to have 4 touchdowns every week, but I tend to lean towards running back. So it is what it is, man. All right, guys. Matt, thanks, bro. Absolutely, my dude. Absolutely. No problem at all, my guy. So I'll be on tonight, probably about 9:30 at the latest. If not a little bit earlier, but nonetheless, man, I appreciate you guys coming out. As always, make sure you hit that like button on the way out. I apologize for the quick stream, guys. I already told you guys the story. Wasn't planning on streaming, but just appreciate you guys, your support on a day-to-day basis. Appreciate you guys coming out to the streams, dropping likes on all of our videos and streams, man. I just appreciate your guys' support day to day, week to week. We're heading into week 13. I don't know where this fantasy season has gone. It has absolutely flown by. So let me know, guys, if you watch this retrospectively, who is your waiver wire must add in week 13. Don't forget to hit the like button if you're new and you tuned in. Make sure you hit that sub button down below. Become part of the Catch fam, officially on the road to 1,000 subscribers here at the Catch. Once again, appreciate all you guys. Sorry it was a quick stream. Got nothing else to say, but thank you guys so much for watching and are listening. And remember, you saw it here on the Catch, and peace.